Mayor, may I begin with the preliminary matters?
Please.
Thank you. Mayor, I have a few preliminary matters. This is Zoe Burgess, City Clerk. The meeting of the local planning agency is being held with a quorum of City of Westlake Council physically in attendance at the Westlake Council Chambers, 4005 Seminole Pratt Whitney Road. Mayor Roger Manning, Vice Mayor John Paul O'Connor, Councilman Patrick Paul, and Councilwoman Kara Crump and Councilwoman Katrina Long Robinson are present physically in attendance. City Manager Kenneth Castle, Planning and Zoning Director Nilsa Zacharias, and Engineering Director Suzanne Dombrowski are present and physically in attendance. Interim City Attorney James Sheriff is physically in attendance. City Clerk Zoe Burgess is present via communications media technology. If you allow me a moment to confirm that any speakers are virtually present and available to speak. Ms. Denise Malone, are you able to speak and hear?
Yes, I can, Zoe. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Public comments may be accepted prior to the meeting utilizing the electronic comment card available on the city's website. Public comments are also permitted at the appropriate time during the meeting. The mayor will call for such during public comment, and you may participate at this time utilizing the system's virtual hand feature and waiting to be acknowledged if you wish to comment. Please note this meeting is being recorded, both voice and video, and to remember your mic may be live. I will mute any microphones that carry any feedback or interruptions. If you are a caller that has been muted, you may unmute yourself by pressing *6. Any person in the virtual meeting causing a disruption or being inappropriate will be removed from the meeting. If I may also remind those physically in attendance, please utilize microphones so that the virtual audience and a clear recording of the meeting is produced. Thank you, Mayor Manning.
Yes, good evening. I'd like to call to order the local planning agency meeting for the city of Westlake. This is Monday, September 13th at 6:08 p.m. Got a roll call, please.
Councilwoman Long Robinson.
Here.
Councilwoman Crump.
Here.
Councilman Paul.
Here.
Vice Mayor O'Connor.
Present.
Mayor Manning.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That will have do we have any additions, deletions, or modifications to the agenda this evening? If not, we have a motion. I'll make a motion. We have a motion by Councilman Patrick Paul.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion made by Councilman Paul to accept the agenda, seconded by Councilwoman Crump. Roll call. Councilwoman Long Robinson.
Yes.
Councilwoman Crump.
Yes.
Councilman Paul.
Yes.
Vice Mayor O'Connor.
Yes.
Mayor Manning.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
This is our public comments and requests on the agenda next, and this section of the agenda allows for comments from the public to speak on any item not presented on the agenda. Each speaker will be given a total of 3 minutes to comment. The public comment card should be completed and returned to the city clerk. When you are called to speak, please go to the podium or your mic, and prior to addressing the council, state your name and address for the record.
Mayor, I received no previous comment cards. However, we'll give the virtual audience a moment to raise their virtual hand. If you wish to make a comment, please raise your virtual hand or unmute your device by pressing *6 and state your name and address. Mayor, I see no comments.
Thank you. We only have one item on our consent agenda this evening, and that's our minutes from the local planning agency meeting that we did had on June 14th. There's no comment or question on that agenda. Let's have a motion for approval. of
Motion
those
to approve
minutes.
the minutes.
I have a motion by Vice Mayor O'Connor to approve the minutes, seconded by Councilwoman Long Robinson. Roll call. Councilwoman Crump,
Yes.
Councilman Paul,
Yes.
Vice Mayor O'Connor,
Yes.
Mayor Manning,
Yes.
Councilwoman Long Robinson.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
Now we'll open the public hearing portion of our agenda. We'll start with our item A, ordinance 2021-06, chapter 8, parking regulations and land development regulations. We have a presentation, Suzanne.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Suzanne Dombrowski with Chen Moore and Associates, City Engineer. So we did not prepare a presentation. We did go through the majority of the changes at the workshop on August 23rd. So at this time, I'd like to take you through some of the changes that have happened since that August 23rd date. And then if there's any other questions on what was proposed originally, then we can discuss that. And the staff memo, it does go through a list of all the changes that occurred. So as you know, at the last meeting, we discussed the purpose for these changes to the parking chapter, mainly to address electric vehicles, their benefits to the city, and how we can further encourage them within the parking code. So a few of the items, the first one actually does not have anything to do with these electric vehicles. This has to do with the drive-through queue length. And this is really just a change. It doesn't result in a net increase or decrease of parking. So it's more just of a clarification. But originally, the drive-through queue length for a restaurant would be 8 spaces, and for a non-restaurant would also be 8 spaces. And then the adopted code said that 20% of that value could count towards your off-street parking requirement, which ends up being 1.6, rounding up to 2. And so instead of having that number not be round, we changed it to 25% of 8 spaces, still resulting in 2 that can count towards your off-street parking. So it's really just a math clarification.
Okay.
Are there any questions on that?
I have an odd question.
Yeah.
Does our code currently allow for the double drive-throughs?
It does not prohibit them.
Doesn't prohibit them?
No, it doesn't mandate them. It does not prohibit them.
Thank you.
Sure. We really want to give the flexibility depending on the type of
I agree.
facility that comes through. All right, so getting into the low-speed electric vehicles, so these are the golf cart type vehicles. So from the last council meeting, we understood the request to have both a minimum and a maximum parking there. So we have changed the code for non-residential low-speed electric vehicles shall occupy a minimum of 2% and a maximum of 10% of the parking. Now we did put a statement in here: if the total number of parking spaces required is less than or equal to 30, then the low-speed electric vehicle parking is not required. The purpose for that is we don't want all these kind of really smaller parking lots having, pockets of one golf cart spot, because it's not great for configuration of the lot. But there is a minimum and a maximum in here.
Now, do they have the ability to add? So a small place would say 10 spots. If they wanted to, could they put in a single golf cart spot?
Yes, so you are always allowed to, but you have the maximum of 10%. You can't go over that value. And we also clarified that if a applicant is proposing more than the minimum value, then the permanent features like the curbing and asphalt should meet the dimensional requirements for a standard space, so that it could easily be transferred in the future if needed. We also added the statement that low-speed electric vehicles are permitted to park in standard vehicle parking spaces. It was always the intention, so we just added that part clarification. So those are all the changes that were made since the city council workshop. Are there any questions?
I have a question.
Mhm.
If there's a business, restaurant say, and there's a large amount of golf carts that occupy not only golf parking spaces, but other parking spaces. Does the owner have the right then to say, this is too much, I need regular cars to come in, I need to have these spots for my regular cars?
So, for example, for a restaurant situation, you're not going to get a large number of golf cart parking spaces. We did some math just for some examples here. If you had like a drive-through, a KFC type restaurant, they would likely not be required to have any because they typically have less than 30. It depends on the square footage of the restaurant, but likely they would not have any. If you look at a larger restaurant, we have some examples where there was 118 spaces required. So that would give you a minimum of 3 golf cart parking, a maximum of 12. So since the minimum is only 3, I don't see there being an issue out of the 118 spaces where they really need it back for the regular vehicles. If they try to put the maximum in and they need to change that, then they would be able to do that easily because of the other code requirements of the parking dimensions.
Do we have any other questions from the council? Suzanne? This is a public hearing, so we'll open it up to the public on this item.
Mayor, I received no previous public comments.
Okay?
However, I do see Ms. Roswell at the podium.
Hello, hi, Catherine Roswell with Lewis Longman and Walker here on behalf of Minto PDLH with just one minor parking comment. In a final read through of what has come before you guys tonight, we noticed that there is a distinction between restaurants with bars and restaurants without bars. And we would just like that. You also have a separate category for bars that function mostly as bars and not as restaurants in terms of number of parking spaces required. So we're just requesting your staff consider consolidating the requirements for restaurants with or without bars, so that if the establishment mostly serves food, it's all treated the same, and if an establishment mostly serves alcohol, it's treated like a bar, so that we don't have all these different categories, especially considering that even a lot of small restaurants also tend to have at least beer and wine. We just wanted to sort of maximize the restaurant capabilities of the town. So we're just gonna ask your staff to take a look at that between first and second reading, but that's our only comment.
Thank you. Suzanne, do you have a comment on that, please?
So we'll be working with them between now and second reading to address that question. So if there is a change, we will bring that to your attention during second reading.
Is there anything that we should be aware of as council, any kind of issue that might be with doing this way?
Nielsa, do you have any comments on that part? Sorry, this is the one chapter that's a kind of a combination of
Also,
planning
what
and
was
zoning
the
and
difference
engineering.
between bars and restaurants with bars, restaurants without bars? Because I must have missed that. I didn't notice it. Sorry, you got that?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members, Mr. Zacharias, planning director for the city of Westlake. The comment brought by Catherine is a valid comment, and I learned about that today. So definitely we will be looking at, and our intent is always to further clarify the code, then it's easier to implement. So definitely we will be looking at, and she just wrote up in my version. So those are her comments. So I don't see, the difference usually is if a restaurant sells more than 51%, of alcohol, or more than 51% of food, so what is the category? Because a bar sometimes needs more, the cards, they need more cars to come and go. So, and the people that go to a restaurant, they take more time because they sit down, they go through the menu, and so we are just gonna be looking at, as every code, there's always room for improvements. So that might be just, something that we can streamline. But, I will be looking at very close, and so we'll bring some additional language for the second reading.
Just if I understand it correctly, it's one space per 100 with a bar, one space for 150 square feet without the bar. Just to reiterate, saying that restaurants with bars require more spots.
Can you please,
She was thinking about it and I just learned about it today, so.
Right, so exactly what you said. If you have a restaurant with a bar, you have to have more spots, and restaurants without bars can have fewer. So functionally, most restaurants now have some sort of bar
Right.
function, and so just to be restaurant friendly, we'd rather just have two categories instead of three. Either you're majority alcohol or you're majority food.
Is that a common practice, or is that like archaic thinking? Should we just have one parking code that just say
Well,
restaurants in general?
It's not unusual in codes to have separate requirements for bars and for restaurants. I mean, there are a variety of different ways that codes approach this. We just think for Westlake in particular that there's no reason to have that many sort of layers.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big difference. I
we
agree.
will simplify basically.
And if
Just
you
do
look
one
at the
universal.
requirements for bars that are currently in your code right now, it matches what you have for a restaurant with a bar.
Right.
So it's just a little redundant. It's a little less friendly towards sit-down restaurants. So that's the basis for our comment. Thank you.
Do you have any other questions? Comments? Council? So would you like to word that motion with the,
Sure.
make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve, with the contingency that there'll be some modifications and simplifications made between first and second reading.
I'll second.
I'm sorry, Vice Mayor, can we revise the motion to make a recommendation to council? You're sitting as the LPA right now.
Absolutely. We'll make a motion to approve and recommend to council that the modifications be made to simplify between first and second reading.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Vice Mayor O'Connor, seconded by Councilwoman Long Robinson. Roll call. Councilman Paul,
Yes.
Vice Mayor O'Connor,
Yes.
Mayor Manning,
Yes.
Councilwoman Long Robinson,
Yeah.
Councilwoman Crump.
Yeah.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to item B, ordinance 2021-09, chapter 7, mobility regulations, land development regulations. Suzanne?
Thank you. So again, with this mobility chapter 7, we presented this at the city council workshop on August 23rd. And at that time, we did not hear any significant requests for changes or comments. There is one very minor comment to the ordinance that was made after the city council workshop. There is a section where it says that that Palm Beach County may publish, or it said the city engineer may publish and update trip generation rates for calculation purposes. We did clarify to say that Palm Beach County or the city engineer may publish that data. It is data that's available from the county, and then the city can choose to publish it as well. So that was the only change that was made since the city council workshop.
Do you have any comments from the council regarding this item on the agenda? No? Okay, it's a public hearing. We'll open it to the public. Questions?
Mayor, I received no previous comment cards. However, we'll give the virtual audience a moment to raise their virtual hand If you wish to make a comment, please raise your virtual hand or mute your device. If you've been muted, please press *6 to speak. State your name and address. Mayor, I have no comments.
Thank you. With that, we have a motion.
Motion to approve ordinance 2021-09.
Recommend the council.
To the council.
Recommend to the council approval of ordinance 2021-09.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion made by Vice Mayor O'Connor, seconded by Councilwoman Crump.
Yeah.
Roll call. Vice Mayor O'Connor,
Yes.
Mayor Manning,
Yes.
Councilwoman Long Robinson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Crump,
Yes.
Councilman Paul.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. So we have no further business for the local planning agency. So we're gonna adjourn the meeting at 6:27. Thank you.